Hello and welcome to The Update. I'm Heidi Tiltons. The federal government says it's refining its budget numbers as economic circumstances change. More than $500 million is meant to be raised from penalties handed to companies doing the wrong thing, but new data shows it will only raise $63 million over the next 4 years. Federal Finance Minister Katie Gallagher says adjustments like these aren't unusual.
As we get further information, as we refine that through the budget process, you'll see that. You'll see that in other areas. You'll have some that there's an increase, somewhere there's a decrease. I mean, that's a result of having different costings done by different organisations.
The price of used cars has fallen for a fourth month and steeper drops are predicted for the rest of the year. Economists believe rising interest rates are putting off potential buyers and the flow of new cars is increasing after a COVID shortage. Former Prime Minister John Howard says the tragedy of the Bali bombings brought out the best in the Australian people. 202 people were killed in the attacks in Kuta 20 years ago today. Mr Howard says the reaction of survivors, medical staff, military and police typified the Australian spirit.
That wonderful duality of the Australian personality. We can be as tough as tungsten and as resilient as is required, but there's also side by side with that a very warm, compassionate, understanding, sensitive side.
Leaders of the G7 countries are vowing to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. The group is also promising severe consequences should Russia take action on its nuclear weapons rhetoric. It's as the Prime Minister considers a request from the Ukraine President for Australian soldiers to help train local troops. The Bruce Lehrmann rape trial will finish far ahead of the expected 6 weeks. The DPP telling the court the prosecution expects to deliver closing arguments early next week. It's after Brittany Higgins cut her time in the witness box short. A suspect in the case of missing girl Madeleine McCann has been charged with separate offences allegedly committed in Portugal between the years of 2000 and 2017. 45-year-old German man Christian Bruckner has been hit with 5 sex abuse charges, 2 of which allegedly involved children. And research has uncovered fresh details about the dinosaur-killing asteroid which struck Mexico 66 million years ago. Scientists now believe it triggered a mega-earthquake which shook the planet for months. In sport, Tennis Australia is yet to ask the federal government to let Novak Djokovic play at next year's Australian Open. The 9-time champion is banned from entering the country for 3 years after he was deported back in January. Tournament director Craig Tiley hopes Djokovic gets an exemption.
It's not a matter we can lobby on. It's a matter that definitely stays between the two of them. And then depending on the outcome of that, we would welcome him to the Australian Open.
Several members of Australia's T20 squad are pushing to recover from injuries ahead of their World Cup title defence. Marcus Stoinis, Mitchell Marsh and Ashton Agar are all carrying issues ahead of their tournament opener against New Zealand Saturday week. And Nature Strip will jump from the widest barrier, Gate 12, in Saturday's The Everest. Second favourite Lost and Running has drawn Barrier 7. In entertainment news, Bruno Mars has touched down in Australia ahead of his 2 exclusive concerts in Sydney. The 37-year-old star will play at Allianz Stadium on Friday and Saturday before jetting off to Japan and Vegas. Pete Davidson has joined the cast of the new Transformers movie, the comedian voicing the character Mirage for the flick Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And Kelly Cuoco is pregnant, the Big Bang Theory star expecting her first child, a girl, with new beau Tom Pelphrey. And that's the latest from the Nova Podcast news team, but we'll see you tomorrow morning for another episode of The Update.